The departures just keep mounting. Mercifully, today maxed out at 1 on the 360 agenda. A Collingwood Premiership captain concedes there's just nothing left. One injury too many brings an immediate end for Nick Maxwell. Judd won't go just yet, refusing to address his football mortality until the close of the season. Brad Scott cautions his roos aren't that good, but what are they capable of in the run to September? I'm Jared Waitley, here's Mark Robinson. This Wednesday night, it's footy from all angles. Hello, Robbo.
Hello, Jared.
Another retirement?
Yes. How many more are we going to have, you think?
There'll be a couple more.
I might ask you that. To suggest some. I'm a bit crook tonight too, so just look after me.
Just be gentle?
Just a bit under the weather.
Okay. We're giving tickets away to Friday night footy. It's in North Melbourne and Carlton. We're going to get
King and McClure to
help out.
What do they have to do?
Well, in the vein of multicultural round, we simply want to know your favourite player who would fall under the multicultural banner.
Who would be yours?
I think I would go Peter Riccardi.
Would you?
Yeah.
Not bad.
I saw a lot of Peter Riccardi play.
I reckon I'd go Cooter.
Yep.
Yeah, light Cooter. It's a good one.
Right.
Contagio.
Oh, I think you might have gazumped McClure there.
Oh, have I?
I think so.
Sorry, everyone. I've jumped ahead.
Very good.
Righto.
All right.
Ask me what I like.
Wednesday love.
What I love. I don't love it, but it's called love, so I've got to do it. I'm looking forward that Ross Lyon's been appointed assistant coach to Alistair Clarkson in the International Rules Series. I'm looking forward to Ross Lyon strangling to death the Irish. You know how they run? You know in the International Series they just run? This is Ross Lyon's greatest ever challenge to lock in the Irish. They won't know what's going on. They'll be looking at each other stupid. Oh, that's what I love.
Did you think the social aspect of playing this game for the Australians just become a little less, a little more structured, shall we say?
Oh, it will be structured. Oh, I can't wait. The score will be like 33-2.
Perverse. I like it. This was Ross Lyon today.
I think we've had crowds of upwards of 40,000. When I put all that together and you know, for me an opportunity to contribute back to the game and get outside of clubland, I think it would be great for my personal growth and a wonderful opportunity to enjoy a unique experience. So when I put all that together, it was a really easy decision.
So pairing up with Alistair Clarkson, nice.
That'd be great. What about you?
Look, I love the lengths blokes will go to get one over on their mates. Now, in this particular instance, it's Mark McVeigh, who has embarked on a campaign to transform himself into a grandmother, Mrs. Doubtfire style, because he wants to prank Dyson Heppel and David Zaharakis. And he has gone to absolute lengths. Class 1 is acting.
Thing to do, and the big thing about this is that you have to not try and act. You have to be her, yeah? Yep. Take your hands out of your pockets. I think that's it. I like it. Keep that. I think that's her. Put your tea down, and you can't do that with the tea. Like, you cannot be doing that, for God's sake. No, I think they hold it like this. Don't overdo it. She doesn't look stupid when she eats. Hello. Nice to see you. I wouldn't say too much.
And to be frank, she was all hands.
Try to be careful with these arms because they're a little bit muscly. Hello, Christmas.
There are no bounds.
No.
Men aren't prepared to cross to get one on their mates. So this is going to unfold on the hanger.
Tonight?
The next few weeks. So acting's only the beginning of it.
Right.
Before he attempts to convince former teammates. So anyway, we'll see how that goes.
Bit of fun, Jared, bit of fun.
All right, anything to get through the winter.
True.
All right, top of the agenda, we just keep losing players. It's been a stretch over the last month, from Glass to Rutten to Brown and yesterday Hayes. Today, Nick Maxwell, one of only 11 Collingwood Premiership captains in what's ended up being a quite glorious, if underestimated, career. It's come to a close. That ankle injury on Sunday has finished off Maxie.
It was a battle, but I loved the battles, and I loved having to prove people wrong, and I loved having to fight against the odds, not only individually but also when our team and when our clubs had our back against the walls. I think that's when we're at our strongest.
It's sad. A retirement is sad, but I see this as a celebration of a fantastic career of a guy who was able to succeed against odds. He was told he wasn't going to make it. He didn't listen to the people that told him that. He backed himself all the way, and I think he's a fantastic example to everyone at the footy club in that regard, and to anyone that he spends time around. They can't help but feel like they walk taller as a result.
Well, as a teammate, he did whatever he could to make the team better, and that's why he was such a fantastic captain to play under, to learn from. As a player, he was certainly rated a lot higher inside our four walls than externally, and same traits that made him such a good teammate is out on the ground. He'd run through a wall for any of us. The amount of times he helped blokes out or did things that didn't reward himself that made other players look good was countless.
If I'm being completely honest, I was almost relieved that when he told me it was a 10-weeker, not a 4-weeker. Then I would have had to put myself through it all again, of having to fight for every minute of every day to try and get it right. Eventually it wears you down, and I've had to do it too often. So I was actually relieved in the end that I guess it was taken out of my hands. I feel like I've given everything I could, every training session, every game, and unfortunately my body just had enough, so that's it.
It seemed to me over our years together, Robbo, that he was a particular favourite of yours.
Yeah, that's a fair comment, Jared. And you look at players and you got different reasons why they're your favourite. You look at Jonathan Brown and Lenny Hayes, and we spoke at length last night about Lenny. I think Nick Maxwell's a favourite because a lot of reasons. I'll just narrow it to two. He shows a lot of people respect, and you don't have to be an AFL player to achieve his respect. I think he's just a terrific person and great person for Collingwood and a great person for the AFL as a whole. Second thing, you've got to admire people who fight and fight and fight and fight and fight, and he fought all the way to the Premiership dice. You know, and it becomes easy to people. I've actually written tomorrow. He thought his way to be a Premiership captain. Some people have got it. Some people have got standout abilities. Not Nick. Nick's standout ability was his mind, it was his brain, and he used it all the way. And it's a great quality. They're the hardest hurdles.
Yep.
Hardest journeys, you know.
He was hardly the most likely to be holding up a Premiership Cup, but there he was, and he's immortalised in Collingwood's history. And he's with us now on AFL 360. Nick, congratulations and welcome.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Everyone experiences these days a little bit differently. What was the emotional journey through the day like for you?
Look, I wasn't emotional, to be honest. It was sort of just something I had to do. I did, when I sat down at the press conference, I did look at Mum and my wife, Erin, and they were shedding tears, and that sort of almost got me. But I swallowed up and made sure I looked away from them for the next half an hour. But apart from that, it's sort of more of a formality and just more wanting to, I guess, explain to people why I'm in the situation I'm in, and want to thank the people who have helped me along the way. So probably more a formality than anything, but look, it affects everyone differently, and I'm sure at some stage it might really catch up to me that that it's all over and I'm not going to have another opportunity to represent the Collingwood Footy Club. But right now, I'm satisfied that I've done everything I possibly could with my career, and satisfied that I've thanked and been supportive of all the people who have helped me over my journey. So
it's come suddenly at the end. Is there any part of you that feels just a fraction short-changed right at the close?
Yes and no. Probably, I mean, I'd love to be, as I said today, because we've got our backs against the wall as a footy club right at this minute. Like, we've really underperformed over the last 6 weeks, and I know the players are struggling with confidence, and we need to really fight to make sure that we play finals and we get the most out of our season in 2014. So I'm disappointed that I can't be out there and I can't be fighting with them and helping them achieve that. But I also know that just with my body and where I'm at, I have nothing left. I've fought for 12 years to try and achieve what I've achieved over the last 12 years, and I've just got nothing left physically.
get a bit frustrated, Maxie, when people say what you are not. I'd like to prefer to talk about who you are and what you've achieved. And your leadership has been the one word that's been a constant today. We've spoken to various people at the newspaper, former coaches, former teammates, and it's leadership. It's leadership. When did it dawn on you, Nick, that you had something that others did not?
Robert, it was probably when James Clement and Nathan Buckley sat me down and told me I needed to nominate for the leadership group. I'd only played about 30-odd games and was clearly nowhere near where I needed to be as a player to be considered someone who was capable of being part of the leadership group. And those two guys sat me down and said, listen, you need to nominate for the leadership group. We believe in you. We believe that what you've got is something that's going to help us move forward. And it was just a complete shock to me. I hadn't captained any club or anything of substance at any stage during my career. And when I got to that point where they sort of said that to me, I was sort of like, what are you talking about? Well, there's 25 other players you should be talking about, not me. And for those guys to see that in me and I guess have the foresight to see enough leadership in me to want to put me forward and want me to actually start working on it was something that I've taken with myself for the rest of my career, and something I've tried to do with young players coming through, where I've, even from a real early age, when I see something in them and I think is leadership and see that they've got potential there, I've tried to really put that on them, and that's something I learned from Bucks and Jimmy when they sat me down for that conversation.
So today at the press conference, Maxie, was it a fun journey or was it a battling journey? And the answer was a bit of both. Does the fun outweigh the battle, or has it been the overall memories is, it's the Premiership, but, geez, all the way through I've really just had to work and work and work?
Oh, the fun always outweighs it, Robbo, because if it didn't, you wouldn't do what you did. You wouldn't put yourself through thinking about every minute of the day, thinking about what you have to do to play at the elite level. So the fun always outweighs what you've done in your career. But I think battle-wise, I also love the battle. As much as at times it was really hard, I also love the fact that I had to fight for it, and it wasn't just handed to me on a platter, and that I had every single step of the way, I had to work my backside off to get there. And I think that made me be able to achieve what I could achieve as a player. And I think if I didn't have battles along the way and things were handed to me, I wouldn't have got to where I got to, because I would have given up when injuries struck you down or when people said you weren't good enough. So I think that those battles along the way, they just make you so much stronger. And I'm just thankful that I had such a good support network around me, and my parents and my manager Peter Lenton and my family and friends. They were the ones who really stood by me in the good times and in the bad times, and kept me focused on what I had to achieve. And I'm just so happy that those guys were there along the way to share the journey with me.
So you weren't the most likely man to be holding up the Premiership Cup for Collingwood. When you look back on it, when you think about it, what's the moral of your story, do you reckon, Nick?
Yeah, good question, Judd. I suppose when I spoke to the boys on Monday afternoon, and what day are we? Tuesday afternoon, and informed them that was it for me. The one message I gave to them was, don't allow anyone else to make a decision on your behalf, and don't think that any decision anyone else gives you is your decision. So what I'm trying to say is, if you've got a goal and you've got something you want to achieve, just do everything possible to achieve that goal. So don't take no for an answer, but also don't step back and blame a coach because he didn't pick you to play. Don't blame a fitness coordinator or a physio because you couldn't get over injury. Don't leave any stone unturned. If it's something that means a lot to you and you really want to do it, then I think you'll get there. So for me, that was probably my journey. I could have taken no for an answer plenty of times, and I could have accepted that injury was going to curtail a lot of my career, but I didn't accept that, and I never accepted that, and I always took responsibility for my own career and what I wanted to achieve as a player myself. So that was my message to the boys, and hopefully they hear that, because I think that there's a lot of talented players come through who don't achieve what they should achieve with the talent that they've got. And the group that we've got currently, I mean, even though I'm retired, the next sort of 6 or however long weeks we've got until our season finishes, I want to be putting a lot of work into a lot of players who I feel have that talent, but really need to understand and identify that if they don't take those opportunities, it's going to pass them by. And I've seen too many players in that situation. I care so much about the players on our list that I just don't want it to happen to any of the guys. It means so much to me. So that'll be a message that I'll be sending to them over the next sort of 6 weeks plus, and hopefully everyone understands it.
I'm certain there's plenty left in your football journey in different guises, so we look forward to sharing that with you. But for now, Nick, congratulations and thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Nick Maxwell, who brought a close to his career today. The other question of the day is, would there be a second? Would Chris Judd front up to his press conference at Carlton and do anything more than the stock standard fare ahead of round 18? Everything's on hold for Judd until the end of the year.
Chris, you're not following Jonathan and Lenny into retirement?
No, I'm not. Just a standard presser, so thanks everyone for coming. Yeah, look, I'm pretty clear on what I want to do at the end of the year. At the end of the day, I think it's your body that really decides as to whether or not you keep playing, and it's the the wise thing to do is to make that decision at the end of the year when you know exactly where your body sits. So we'll let everyone know what's going on at the end of the year. I guess that's the easiest way to do it.
That'll be a decision that Chris makes. But I just think that certain players have already retired this year that perhaps have said, I wish I had have gone last year. So my advice to all players, go when there's a little bit left.
I don't know how many different questions there can be asked to ask me if I'm going to play on or not next year, but all will be revealed soon enough, and that's all it is.
How's the body feeling?
It's feeling good, thank you. So the body's feeling fine. Looking forward to this week's game against Kangaroos, and that's what can get lost too. I don't. They last 6 weeks to be the potential retirement show. We've got footy to play, we've got fans to please, we've got a lot of growth that needs to occur in our group to hold us in good stead for next year, and that should be the focus for the next 6 weeks of this footy club.
So nothing to see just yet. I've never been able to read Chris Judd. Could you read anything into that?
No. He's made a decision. That's what we know.
Okay.
Now, if he's made a decision to go on, why not say today, you know what, I'm pretty keen to play next year. So if I had a stab, it's coming to an end, and he'll be announcing his retirement at the end of the year.
I hope, my only hope here is if he is going to finish up at the end of the year, I hope he does announce before the last game, because it's not just about you in these moments.
No, it's not.
About everybody else who shared the journey, and he spoke there about the fans. I hope he gives them the chance to say thank you and goodbye if that is the decision he knows he's coming to at the end.
And more importantly, after the season, 360 isn't on. So we can't talk about him at night. I want to devote 15 minutes to talking about Chris Judd. We've got to recognise, excuse me, our greats. Like we did Lenny Hayes, and people are going to say Nick Maxwell's he's a great at Collingwood, I can tell you that. So it's great to reflect with these people.
And because of Judd's personality, he says he doesn't want the remainder of the season to be a farewell to Chris Judd, and that's perfectly right.
I expected
but right
that, though.
at the end, that last game, I hope he does, because it's more than just about you.
Yep.
Carlton plays North Melbourne on Friday night, and the Kangaroos, they're smartening up. If they can get rid of the lapses along the way, they'll improve their position on the ladder, which is already 6th, and they will start favourite in all bar one of their remaining matches, and they are a genuine chance to pick off all 6. Just don't get too excited around the coach.
I still don't regard us as a genuine contender with the top 5 or 6 sides. And in terms of playing well against the best, we've shown we can do that. But good sides don't have the drop-offs that we've had. So, I think that if you're going to be regarded as a really good side and a genuine contender, you've got to show that on a consistent basis. And we've got a really great opportunity for the next 6 weeks to show that. So, right at the moment, I would argue and say that no, we're not in that top bracket, and a ladder position reflects that as well. But we can rectify that in the next 6 weeks.
Good sides don't have the lapses, and we've said it all year, and that's what he's holding to.
Yeah, but you can't say anything else, because you know what? Deep inside, I reckon that he reckons they can win it. I look at North, and they're in good nick. They're in really good nick. Their good players are playing well. Drew Petrie's back in form. It was great to talk to Drew last night. There's the run home, Judd. Geelong, Carlton, Geelong, GWS, Western Bulldogs, Adelaide, Melbourne. I know you reckon they might start favourites, but there's some challenging games there.
Oh, my word, there are.
They're challenging games.
I'm not marking them down as wins, but they run favourite in all bar the Geelong match.
The round 21, round 22 will tell us about about North, and if they can get through that, they get into fourth spot. There's no doubt. And Brad Scott inside his head's thinking, we can win this. We can win it. But he's not going to say that publicly. You know, I would reckon if Mark Thompson was being honest, we can win this. That's how people think. That's how they should think, you know, going into it. Anyway, good game.
They have one more lapse, though, like they've had, and they lose their position, and suddenly you're travelling for an elimination final rather than hosting or trying to grab fourth spot.
Carlton travelled pretty well last weekend too. I don't think tomorrow, Friday night, will be a pushover. Far from it.
All right. One other item on the agenda. Gillan McLachlan stood in between Collingwood and the Sydney Swans. It's almost as if the children have been allowed to swing away for a few days, and now the parents are just saying that's just a touch unedifying.
I think that both of those guys would regret where this has got to. I don't think that it's edifying for anyone, either of them or our game, to be having a personal singing match, and hopefully we've seen the end of it.
It's been good sport along the way, though, I reckon.
It's like a schoolyard fight.
Good sport.
Andrew Pittam, I like him. You're going to stand up for his football club. That's what you want as a chairman of a club. Of all the fans out there, you just want a strong president. Okay. And that's what they've got.
All right. Were you watching Fox Sports News this morning or at any stage during the day?
I've seen it during the day.
So,
no doubt.
Look, our man Julian De Stoop has form. He has form with an air horn.
Oh, he does too.
He left Rory Sloane hanging at the Brownlow.
Did too.
Yeah. But
amateur hour.
He's gone global now.
And things are just going wrong for Collingwood. They finally admitted yesterday that Dane Swan has been playing hurt. Hurt his hip.
What is on with the Larry Trophy? Larry O'Brien.
Get off, boys.
Yeah, go
and so he's had a heel problem as well, Dane Swan. There's always some idiots down here at Collingwood. So he's playing hurt, and we know they've got a really tough game against Adelaide next week. So the last thing that the Magpies need, a little bit flustered after that, but the last thing that the Magpies did need.
I'm not sure if you realised, Jules, but you had some pretty famous company just then. That was Paddy Mills and Aaron Baines with their newly claimed trophy.
They just jumped in the car. I didn't realise that was Paddy at the time, but anyway, there you go.
How's your day been, Jules?
Been interesting, Jared. Plenty of feedback. 60% funny and 40% you're a flog. This proves you know nothing about sport and what do you get out of the industry. So
you've gone around the world. You know that, don't you?
Well, hopefully
it's everywhere.
Appearance on Jimmy Fallon or something like that, if possible.
Good.
Just peripheral vision. Now,
no Scott Pendlebury.
Just the trophy. Just the trophy. When did the gold catch your eye?
Basically, to quickly explain what happened, there was traffic around there near Olympic Boulevard. Someone's jumped out of the car. I saw out of the corner of my eye a tall guy in tracksuit pants. I did see a gold trophy. I clearly didn't recognise it was the NBA trophy. And as you know, Jared, from an incident back in Colonial in the late 90s, you're just looking straight ahead, and it all happened so quickly, and I did feel pretty terrible pushing Paddy Mills, given he had a shoulder reconstruction.
I thought you nearly told him to F off.
I think I said get lost. It definitely wasn't F off.
Oh.
Well, Paddy's on his way to the airport as we speak, and he's with us on the phone. Paddy Mills, welcome to AFL 360.
G'day guys, how you going?
That was an interesting way to start the day.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't a bad way to start the day, so it was a good start to the trophy tour, I think.
Jules?
Paddy, first of all, just apologies. I'm not sure what I'm more sorry for, pushing you or calling you a Collingwood nuffy, because I know you're not a fan of the Magpies, so I apologise on both fronts.
No worries, mate. Probably deserved it after pulling a stunt like that, so apologies for bombing your photo thing, but to be honest, mate, the footage has made it over to America, and you don't have me to worry about. It's actually the coach and Greg Popovich, so I think you might have to give him a call to apologise.
I've seen how he treats the media as well. He doesn't give them a lot, so I don't like my chances on that one.
Have you had a lot of fun today, Paddy?
Yeah, mate, it's been great. The first day of the trophy tour, Spurs trophy tour down under, and what better way to start it than the sporting capital of Australia.
The goodwill has been enormous. How many autographs do you reckon you've signed during the day?
Well, I've signed none, mate, because I've had shoulder surgery last week, so
can't sign the other hand.
all the signing up to Beansy, actually.
Where are you off to now? You're on the way to the airport, aren't you, Paddy?
Yeah, mate, we're on the way to the airport now to Sydney, and we're up again early, and we're at it.
Did I hear today that you're actually taking... where are you from? The island? You're taking the trophy home?
Yeah, my culture and heritage, where my family's from, is up in the Torres Strait on the Thursday Islands. So we're going to Sydney, Canberra, Brisbane, hometown where Bainsy's from, Cairns, and then finishing it on Thursday Island, which would be pretty cool.
What will that mean to the people living there?
I think it's huge. I think it's huge for the Indigenous community and the Indigenous people throughout Australia that we're, putting an effort to go and take an NBA trophy there. I think it's definitely going to put them on the map, not only in Australia, but throughout the world.
And the footy connection, which we have spoken about over the last couple of weeks, the Adelaide Crows are going to pay tribute to you as well. You're an ambassador for them?
Yeah, I am, mate. Huge Crows fan, and have been ever since I was a little one. But really happy and excited to go to Adelaide Oval to see the boys and see what that atmosphere is like.
Paddy, I hope you've had a great day, and there's many more great days to come. Thanks for sharing a bit of it with us.
No worries, guys. Thanks for having me.
Paddy Mills, who's on his way to the airport. Julian De Stoop, thank you.
Thank you, boys.
Kept good humour about you all day.
Well something a bit different.
OK, we'll bring the boys in for AFL 360 now. King and McClure, there's a lot on the agenda, including Sydney and Port Adelaide in some real depth.
Oh, beautifully plucked in by David King.
Sellers?
Yeah, I've gone for Dangerfield to get less than 20. No danger for the Hawks, because he'll get less than 20.
Dangerfield. 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 To Dangerfield. Dangerfield. Dangerfield again.
Yeah, I'm really happy for him tonight. He put Paddy Dangerfield on the map. He's had a personal best 41 disposals. Fantastic. Had a personal best 27 contested possessions, which has blown champion data apart. I'm really happy for him that he tipped Paddy to less than 20. Sorry, got that wrong. You tipped him to have less than 20, did you?
I'm going to talk to Clarko about this. He wasn't hard enough on him. They should have put the hard tag on him. He didn't do anything.
Possibly the biggest cross we've had all year, mate.
And I love it. I'm happy. I think I can go the whole year with a cross. I'm going to try from now on to get one.
Oh, go on again.
We thought Jules had made the biggest error of the week. Of course, we all know it's fewer than 20. That was clearly the mistake there. Mark, welcome.
How you going, guys?
Rebounded
thanks
all
very
right.
much for that. It was good.
David King.
Yeah, boys.
Set that up beautifully.
I didn't set that up. I told you.
Anyone who says that straight, I didn't set that up. He usually does.
I set that up Friday, but not today. He did the rest.
All right, let's get stuck in. We've had the ladder up a lot this week, but the team at the top hasn't really featured in the conversation. They're just doing their thing. They've picked off 12 in a row to equal the club record, which dates back to the mid-30s.
12 in a row.
Yeah, and what they did in the third quarter was positively frightening.
Had a look at their draw the next 6 weeks. I reckon they could be going in the final series with 8 in a row. If they beat Hawthorn at the MCG next week, which they'll go in favourites to, they play Essendon at home, and they play Port Adelaide in Adelaide. If they win those 3, the rest are against sides outside of the 8. They could quite easily be going in 8. Now, I don't know if that's a great thing, going in 18 wins in a row, but geez, they're going to be hard to stop, aren't they?
Yeah, this is the half hour, which is the case for the affirmative.
There's nothing wrong with going in 18 wins in a row, because I tell you now, they're so confident about what they're doing, and they've got players to come back in, and the other sides will be frightened like hell. Can we beat these sides? No, we can't.
No one's got that depth of talent in the forward half. The ball goes in there and it doesn't come out. You pay a price if you make an error. You give them half a chance and they capitalise. They're the number 1 team in the competition at scoring from turnovers, and I don't care what colours you wear. If you are the number 1 team at scoring from turnovers across the course of the season, you generally win the opportunity to play in the grand final, and then you generally win the flag, and that's what Geelong have shown us the last 6 or 7 years.
Kingy, I've never seen anyone feel good about themselves after they lose. They just continue to feel good about themselves when they win and destroy sides. So winning form's good form, and if you keep winning, there's no way knowing that you should be beaten with this sort of talent in a side and this sort of work rate.
They're ferocious, aren't they?
They're fantastic.
They've got everything. I think I don't know if I asked you or not, guys. Is there any weakness? If you're coaching against them, what would you try to exploit?
I don't know if there's a weakness. A weakness is an interesting way of looking at it. I'm not sure there's a weakness, but for things to go wrong, they'd have to have, in my opinion, they'd have to have a key injury. It'd have to be to a key back, Teddy Richards or someone like that, or if Hanbury doesn't come back. I think Hanbury's their barometer. He's their midfield jet for me. He's the one that adds that class on the end of what Kennedy does, what Jack does. He's the X factor in the midfield. But the only other thing that can go wrong is if they get confused with their roles. That the midfielders who are grunt midfielders, who are possession winners, who start the possession chains, want to become the flair of the forwards, lose their way. That's the only thing that can go wrong for me.
So it's internally, it's their own brains.
Well, it's theirs to lose. That's what we believe.
Now, a couple of weeks ago, you spent time focusing on who you couldn't afford to lose in the run towards the final. This week, you've skewed that a little bit to what's coming back, if we narrowed it down to the 5 contenders as they stand. And the most frightening part is the team with as much to gain as any, if not more, is Sydney.
Yeah, I think that when you look at the... Jared Healy talks a lot about the domino theory of when players come back, what that does to your team. Let's have a look at some of the teams at the pointy end, the top 5 teams. And I think the Sydney Swans, we're all talking about. They've got Tippett to come back, Hanbury and Reece Shaw. Now, Tippett comes back in, but he's been doing it by himself for the last 4 or 5 weeks. They've rested Tippett perfectly. Structural players that come back in make a huge difference. Hanbury comes back in and he'll take a tag straight away. So that frees up someone else on the outside to then get loose, to then get more ball. So it's the flow-on effect for me. They're 3 big ends. Reece Shaw's played everywhere this year. He's played midfield with good success and half-back. So they're 3 big ends on what's already a pretty powerful side.
It allows them to use Jared McVeigh in a different role when Reece Shaw's in good nick.
Okay.
Talk about their only sort of problem. I reckon their ruck's maybe one of their biggest problems come finals time, but they're so good on the ground, won't matter.
Fremantle, whose stocks are improving, and Ross Lyon made it clear today that he believes Walters will get back sooner rather than later. So what was feared to be perhaps the season might be the other side of the bye.
But look at those names again. I mean, Hill's probably their most damaging player. Again, it's the same tag. He comes in, he takes a tag, it frees up Pearce, it frees up Ballantyne, it frees up Walters. That was their weapon last year, those small forwards. You could stop Ballantyne, but then Walters would get out of jail. You stop Walters and Ballantyne gets going. You couldn't clamp the both of them. I think the structural player again in McFarlane just allows Johnson to play a lesser role and be more creative, more damaging. Ibbetson's the forgotten one for me. He's an intercept player. They're asking Johnson and these players to do that role at the moment. So it's again the flow-on effect of asking really high-end talent now to perform high-end roles, and then you drop their role down a fraction. They still stay the same talent level, but they're able to impact the game more. They're huge ins for Freo.
Oh, I think they are, and I mean Walters is the key for mine, and McFarlane. They're the 2 that stand out. And Hill in the midfield just adds another one to kill you.
The Hawks have got the biggest numbers to come back. How they will get back is that's probably the looming question there.
That's the big scare, isn't it? How they come back. I think those names, when you look at them, though, they're centre half back, full back. I mean, they're 2 absolute pillars of your team, aren't they, Robbo? If you can get them to come back in, it frees up everything else. And I'm not sure whether the players that are actually playing those roles right now will be in the team. That's how big a change that they are. They're not asking lesser talent to play bigger roles in September. They've got them ready to come.
What about the significance of Brad Hill with his run? It's not just run. He's a gut runner and he's got speed. He's so important.
It's the same thing. We discussed this off air. Hill comes back in. Over the last few weeks, we've seen Birchall and Smith be tagged because they don't have Hill there. As soon as Hill comes back in, for me, the biggest beneficiary of that is Birchall, because you've still probably got to lock Hill away and you make a decision on do you go with Smith. You can't tag them all. So the one that gets off the chain is generally the half-back flanker. So Birchall, for me, will be the biggest beneficiary of Hill coming back.
Geelong have been reintegrating their keys over the last few weeks, and they're a week away from being full strength if they get through the Giants unscathed with Stokes.
They're going really well. Again, we see Geelong manage their list. You know, they've had some significant injuries this year where they've lost players for the season, and we'll start to see that word season get tacked on the end of injuries now, because we saw with Maxwell today. Anything that's more than 4 or 5 weeks now becomes a real scare for clubs going into a finals campaign. Stokes is the one that comes back in. He gives them that wild card mix. But really, when you look at the other teams, they've got some real real key structural players to come back. It's worth keeping an eye on because any injury now, Jared's magnified.
And then Port Adelaide, and the two key post defenders have been the most recent outs that they need back. And you've Monfries was the one that sort of jumped out to you here.
Yeah, I think he plays an interesting role that no one else really plays in that side. I mean, they've got Robbie Gray at the moment, who's the wild card in the forward half, who's All-Australian as a lock this year. But Monfries can tag as well as being a goal kicker. We've seen him do that against Heath Shaw. He's great at ground level. He's great in the air.
Great in the air, isn't he?
Yeah, he's one who can kick 4 or 5 goals in any given game, especially a big game. When you look at the Norm Smith medalists over the last few years, they're all that sort of player. They're that type of player. So I think he could make a massive difference.
Where's Kasisi?
I think he's a quality player.
Yeah,
he'll get back in.
He'll get back in.
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, if he's not in, they're pretty strong. If they're making a decision not to play him, they're pretty happy with their depth.
Yep.
All right, we'll come back to Port in a moment.
Check your buzzer, sellers. Are you here? We're still with us?
You're with us?
No? Not really.
You're up now.
Just thinking of it.
Hasn't taken the Dangerfield thing real well, has he?
No.
I'm not too worried.
He's at the plate, though, with Mick Malthouse.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting time for him, isn't it?
It is.
It's an incredibly interesting time. This is a bloke who's going to supposedly break the record for the longest-serving coach in the AFL. He's friendless. I can't find a friend in the world. Everyone I talk to says, what's going wrong with Mick? This is unbelievable. They've got a new president, a new CEO at this football club. At this stage, we can't tell what the plan is for the future. We don't have a clue what it is. And I think they need to come out and express it. We've seen mixed messages for the whole year from this bloke, from the coach. Not from anyone else, just the coach. All these newspaper items here are just telling us exactly what they want to do with him. They want to get rid of him. I look at the contingency plan for the future. Who is it? They've got Wiley, they've got Baker, they've got Green, and they've got Laidley in their coaching staff. Are any of those going to coach? I don't think so. None of them will get a job anywhere at Carlton at this stage. If you look at... And Mick's not the one to pick coaches for mine. He picked 2 coaches in the last few years. He picked one guy to go down to Scotty Waters to go to St Kilda, endorsed him.
Yeah, Waters and Neil, yeah.
And they both gone in 18 months. He waffled his way through 18 months and got chucked out. Then he picked Mark Neild. He should have been gone in 5 weeks. He lasted 2 years because the Melbourne people wanted to hang on to him. They're poor endorsements for mine.
Yeah.
And so you can't let Mick pick a coach. It's got to be done by someone else.
That's not relevant if Malthouse coaches next year.
That's not
so let's get to the pointy end of it.
The pointy end of it is this. Is his match day coaching over? For mine. I'm worried about his match day stuff. This is huge. Where is he as a match day coach? He runs up, jumps around in the coach's box, yells and screams. Looks like he's going to, do himself some damage. I think he should bring someone in to do the match day coaching if he seriously wants to stay on and get the extra 2 games or whatever it is to have the record. But should he get there? Should the AFL allow him? One of the things he's good at is bullying. He's a bully of the media all the time. He's always bullied the media, and that's something we're ashamed of in our society. But they allow him to do it. He's a star at it, to tell you the truth. What he should be a star at is improving this side, and I haven't seen that.
So 10
That's
weeks
one of the
ago,
problems for me.
we sat together on radio and you said to Stephen Kernahan that he should re-sign Malthouse there and then.
No, I didn't say he should re-sign. Why should he re-sign?
No,
Who's going to pinch him? I said he should let him coach his time out.
No, you didn't. You said they should sign him to an extended period of time to provide the certainty, and they should do it straight away. So I take it that
I'm rethinking this, Jared,
yes.
and I think you are too. I mean, as we talked before, I'm worried about you too. You can jump off pretty quick.
You don't think he should be coaching next year?
I'm not certain about next year. He's got a contract. Will they let it stand? Or is the $1 million worth hanging on to him because they're friendless in society?
So I'll ask you another question.
Seriously, he's abrasive to all.
He's doing himself.
That's what he's consistent with.
He's doing himself no favours at the moment. If he was out of contract at the end of this year, would you re-sign him at Carlton?
No.
If Mark Thompson is available as a coach at the end of this year...
Not my call.
I know it's not your call, I'm just asking. Would you have Mark Thompson ahead of Mick Malthouse? I mean, a lot of clubs would be asking the same question. I'm not just putting it on Carlton.
No, I just don't think... I think he's abrasive to the fans. The fans deserve better.
Carlton fans don't know what's going on at Carlton.
They have no idea. No one has a clue. I run into them all the time.
He doesn't embrace them.
Oh, that's not his go. I coach the football side. Well, they're not going very well, so you might as well do something else. Let's try something.
I want to see the media boycott one of these press conferences. If he's going to treat the media like that, don't go. Let him interview himself. I reckon it'd be hilarious. Mick walk in, there'd be no one there. Okay, this is going well. Who's he going to have a crack at then?
Did you come to play, Mick? What's that mean? Did you come to play?
See, just the nitty-gritty of it is, where do you sit in the... See, I can't see the point in coaching for one more year. No. You're either coaching for 3 more years or you're not coaching into next year. That's where Carlton is. That's
not right. No. He's got one. He's got a year of contract to prove that he can improve that list and take them forward. That's critical. He needs that 1 year. You're not making decisions. You can make whatever decision you like on Mick right now, but he's got a year to decide where they're going. And he'll make decisions in the next 6 weeks you won't like. He'll play players that actually won't improve their performance, but he needs to play them to look at them. So they'll go backwards before they go forwards. And you know what? They might go backwards the first 10 weeks of next year as well. So if you're going to have that discussion now, you're probably going to have that discussion 10 times.
So, but where's the plan though, King? That's the key. The key to this football club is they need a plan.
No,
because
but
otherwise
plan was wrong from minute one. They brought him in as the finisher.
They're going to boycott this. They're going to boycott this bloke.
No, they're not. No, they're not. No, as long as you can see.
I'm talking about the fans.
Well, the fans, you know what? You win the fans, but if those sort of fans, you're going to lose every time. As soon as you start winning, they'll be back in 5 minutes. So you don't worry about that. You can't make decisions based on those sorts of fans.
You're right. The plan was wrong when they appointed him. They've got it. It's so wrong.
Every week. Absolutely. You've got to know
where they were.
Where is Port Adelaide at?
Port Adelaide, not a lot wrong with Port Adelaide, and I reckon people are bashing the plan. They're bashing all sorts of areas statistically. Let's have a look at some vision. I'll show you where the problem really is in its simplest form. They're very aggressive out of the back half, and they've had a couple of weeks or 3 weeks in a row where they've been poor. They've gone direct down the middle to areas where they can turn the ball over, and usually it's worked. It worked for the first 14 weeks, and Ken promotes this really aggressive style, and they love it. They've embraced it. When it fails big. Richmond cashed in last week. Richmond lucked in. They had sides against Port the last 3 weeks. Richmond, Essendon, and Adelaide have all done this. They've been able to force turnovers in really dangerous areas. These sorts of kicks haven't quite hit. Now, that's an easy kick for an AFL player, right? But it hasn't quite happened for them. That'll hit next week. That'll hit the week after. I'll tell you what, if it misses in a final, it'll hurt them. But that's a kick-to-kick issue. You can't coach that. You can't worry about that. This one here, this is the aggression we're talking about. Playing on an absolute full-back and going right in the middle of the ground. If you miss it, it's a goal. But you know what? If you hit it, it's a goal at the other end. And Ken likes that. So fundamentally for me, when you look at the numbers, and we'll put them up there now, the first 14 weeks of the year, they were conceding 37 points. So 6 goals, cough-ups in your back half, right? That's about this under the AFL average. The last 3 weeks, you can see it's jumped up an extra 2 or 3 goals. That's the gap. They've lost by 2 points, 4 points, 7 points, 20 and 23. They're not massive gaps. So let's not get too carried away.
You're still bullish about them?
Well, they're a quality side. I tell you what, the side that plays in first week of the finals will know they're in for a fight. I'm not worried about them in the short term. They're going beautifully.
They're tall. They need 2 tall defenders back. That's their big key.
Yeah.
I think Kenny's a bit more upset about other aspects, though. I know we talk about contested ball every week.
Too much flair.
He's hard-nosed, Kenny. He's hard-nosed.
They should never have lost on the weekend. No. They shouldn't have lost to Richmond and they'll look back. But everyone in the 8 has lost a game that they didn't think that they'd lose. You can't just keep winning every week. As long as Port are in a rut, they can't afford to lose any more from here on in. We know that. But they've got to get their game back. They've got to work out what the aggression levels are.
OK, stay, because we're going to do the multicultural rounds
very
next.
Strong. He's been very strong.
We're giving tickets away to see Carlton play.
Oh, really?
Turns out.
Do Sellers want to go?
Sellers wins.
I reckon there'll be plenty of space.
I know what second prize will be.
Is that first prize?
Seems that way. It's a big night on Fox Footy on Bounce. The return of Danny Frawley. Spud is back. He'll be back with his cohorts on Bounce. The madcap stuff that can happen on a Wednesday night. Business will pick up next.
Goal of the year, Drew. That is an amazing goal. One of the great goals I've seen.
An unbelievable goal to Matt White, the Roadrunner.
surely has settled the debate over goal of the year. Matty White, something phenomenal would have to happen now for that to change. Multicultural round is ahead of us, and so in the spirit of it, we're giving away tickets for Friday night, and we've invited you to play on Twitter. We'll get you to show the way. Mark McClure, who is your favourite player who would fall into the category of multicultural?
Well, my man was a Carlton player, and I used to live next door to him. I came from Sydney, and there he is, the Vinny the cat. That's Jimmy. That's Vinny. Vinny's with the hair. And he'd just give you a little lend every now and then. He just looked like he'd faint, like he was going to handball it to you, and just give you the woof, gone. Ta-ta, and just off he went on his own. But I tell you what he did have. A great smells coming over the fence. I used to live next door to him. And his mum used to cook beautiful Italian food. And I only have eaten spaghetti out of a can before I got to Melbourne. That's where I thought it came out of. But then I actually walked down the lane and I go, I'm not going inside to eat there at the Marnies. I'm going straight over the fence to the Contagio's. I actually built a little ladder. And I had beautiful Italian food, and I'd never had it before in my life. But, you know, 3 veg and, you know, all that sort of stuff.
Well, I don't reckon you've thrown that ladder away.
So for me, it was multicultural for me.
In the spirit of that, it surely has to be somebody that you played with.
Peter Bell for me. There's stories attached to people that I find more interesting than the actual player. Peter Bell was just a side issue, sellers. It's just so we can tell the story that our famous runner Kent Hannum told one day when Dennis sent him out to give Peter Bell a message, and poor old Kent couldn't find him. He came back off to the phone, and Dennis said, "What happened out there?" He said, "I couldn't find him." He said, "You couldn't find him?" He said, "2 missionaries found him on the side of a road in Vietnam, and you can't find him in the MCG. Surrounded by a fence." He's my favourite by a mile, Peter Bell.
All right, so who did you go with? Let's start with Stephen. And Stephen has given us Alex Jesaulenko. He had every kid in every schoolyard in the 70s yelling out Jesaulenko when they took a mark.
You will, absolutely.
Everyone did. Icon, isn't he?
Absolute star, and will be till the day we die, and he dies as well. So he'll go on forever. He's a legend. Absolute legend. Look at that mark. It's unbelievable.
That is unbelievable.
And he could run, bent over, just as quick as he could standing up. He was an amazing player.
One of the most balanced footballers.
I used to sit there, we used to play on blokes, and they go, "Did you see that?" I go, "I see it every week." What are you worried about? He does that. That was only average. I've seen him do better at training.
He was a 1970s Gazza, wasn't he?
Oh, he's a freak.
Gazza Senior, that is.
John's gone modern day. He's gone for Nick Natanui. Has to be West Coast ruckman Nick Natanui. So exciting to watch, especially when he goes for a specky.
Yeah.
Wish he's played for Carlton.
He's spot on. He wouldn't help.
He could coach Carlton.
He won't let this go. I'll tell you what, there he's doing at the Carlton. No, he's a freak, isn't he? A wonderful athlete.
All right, Peter's given us the greatest Greek, Italian, Egyptian gladiator, and that, of course, is Anthony Koutafidis. What multicultural AFL team of the century isn't he in?
He's a freak.
He was.
What a player. He had a couple of years there. He was just unbeatable. They played him up forward and centre forward, and they tried to play him centre back, and they put him in the midfield, and he was just a monster on a wing and went forward and kicked goals. He was a star.
He had stats one day of like 38 possessions, 18 marks, and 6 goals, 4.
And then
he was the best player in the comp in 2000 before he did his knee.
Didn't he have 6 weeks in a row where he got 3 votes in the Brown? 5 weeks in a row he got 3 votes in the Brown?
I don't think I've ever, I think so. I don't think I've ever seen a player play a better 15 games in a row.
His grand final day was unbelievable.
Did his knee.
Robert has given us James Steins, OAM. Brownlow Hall of Fame, Melbourne Team of the Century, all Australian, yet still a greater person than player. And he left an indelible mark not only on football but on all of Melbourne and the city, not just the football.
That's hard to beat, Jared. You'd have to say.
How didn't you pick him, Kingy? Why didn't you pick him?
Well, I had a better story.
You like a better story about Peter Bell?
Yes. I didn't have a story about Jimmy.
Suzanne finishes it off here. She said taking to the footy on Friday night, Wayne Schwartz, because he was awesome at just about everything.
He was a great player, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a freak. If he has a couple of drinks and really loosens up, he tells you that he beat the king in his prime for 2 best and fairests. But he's too humble. Really? He's too humble a man sober, but he was a star for 3 or 4 years there.
And when he went to Sydney, mate, he was still a star. You know, I almost think he elevated.
All right, you can keep talking like this all night. I'm sure we could.
Have a whole show on it.
I think you've done enough damage. Off you go. Fight night tomorrow night. Cameron Mooney and Barry Hall in to have a look at the first half of round 18.
Good for you, sellers.
Phone call.
He's got the sniff for it. His arms are waving. He's demanding the footy at the moment.
Franklin from the boundary. He loves these. What about that?
Boiling away there was Laidler. Comes to Malcheski. Clever tap from Franklin. He'll nail this one because he's on the run and he's on the boundary line and he's 40 metres out. That was an absolute soda. Never in doubt. He's got 6.
He ignores the short options of Gibbs and Doherty and kicks long in the direction of Rowe, but it's punched away by Laidler and into the path there of Malcheski, who palmed it down to Buddy, who kicked the goal of the night.
The Blues went home at half-time pretty much. They put up a terrific first-half effort, but they have not been seen since, and the re-entry's no good. Here's Buddy, tight against the boundary. Look at the steps. Have a look at Buddy. Oh, yeah. The Chester's out. He's the man.
All right, we finish off on Wednesday nights with Who Would You Rather Be, brought to you by Gatorade. Robbo, with the links of the week. Lenny or Lingy?
Ooh,
Coaches in waiting.
Geez, Premiership winning, no Premiership, Lenny. Oh.
Come on.
Lenny.
Ooh,
Lenny.
All right.
Who would you rather be, Jared, in light of the events this week? Clive Palmer or Eddie Maguire?
No, Eddie.
I thought you'd say that.
There's a bit going on that's bigger than football. I'd rather be Eddie.